Part 66. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 653. Chapter 653 I Thought of the Snake King. 651. In summer, there is a lot of rain. It rains every 3 or 2 days. Twice He Tian took her children to play outside, and it rained in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, I didn't go out today and didn't encounter such heavy rain. The 2 children were sleeping on their backs on the mat, with a small blanket covering their bellies. He Tian looked at the heavy rain outside through the window, feeling inexplicably happy. This made He Tian very puzzled. What's the point of being happy when it rains? She used to hate rain. When it rained, the ground would be sticky, and her shoes would be dirty when she went out. He Tian stood up and walked to the door involuntarily. She resisted the urge to rush into the rain and just stretched out her hands. After He Tian's hands touched the rain, he felt an indescribable feeling of comfort, so much so that He Tian didn't want to retract his hands. I don't know why, but every time I see water, He Tian feels very happy. It's just that this feeling wasn't obvious before. It just became obvious at a certain moment, but that didn't happen often. Huo Yingjia came in from outside holding an umbrella and carrying a thermos bottle, and saw He Tian playing with water with a face full of joy. Isn't it cold? Huo Yingjia was surprised, put away the water bottle and put away the umbrella. It's not cold, He Tian replied, it's not cold at all. Even though it wasn't cold, Huo Yingjia still took a towel and wiped He Tian's hands. Okay, you are an adult, why are you more naughty than Ruiman, secretly playing with water? Huo Yingjia whispered, carefully wiping He Tian's hands and applying moisturizer. He Tian was quite reluctant to give up, but she also knew that this was not good. It would be bad if the children saw her and imitated her and played with water when it rained. Brother Yingjia, I don't know why, but I like water very much, He Tian said softly, as long as it is clean and clear water, I will always feel happy after seeing it and feel it with my hands. Haha, Huo Yingjia smiled, I discovered that in the cave, you also like water. Upon hearing this, He Tian glared at Huo Yingjia and said angrily, don't talk nonsense, it's not you who caused the trouble. Haha, Huo Yingjia laughed. When he was in the water, his wife became even more charming. Not to mention, besides, it was he who suffered the loss in the end. He Tian looked very gentle, but in fact, there was a little wild cat inside that was going crazy from time to time. When he got anxious, he stretched out his paws and scratched her a few times, which was quite painful. He Tian would mutter something like this every time it rained. Huo Yingjia didn't care at first, but later he felt something was wrong. Until one day, when they were playing in Suanwu Lake, a child fell into the water. Without thinking, He Tian jumped into the water very fast. In just a few seconds, he swam to the child and rescued the child. Huo Yingjia was stunned. In fact, he had just wanted to jump in and save people. But He Tian had already jumped down. He knew He Tian could swim, but he didn't expect that He Tian could swim so fast in the dog-pawing position. Thank you very much. We both don't know how to drink water. If it weren't for you, my child would never be saved, the woman said gratefully and hugged the child tightly. Can you please leave your address, job unit? I'll send you a banner. No need. Huo Yingjia wrapped the thin blanket for the child around his wife, hurry and go home. Hey. The woman continued to ask. He Tian turned around and said, send him to the hospital quickly. We are just helping. When he got home, Huo Yingjia had a dark face and didn't speak to He Tian on the way. He Tian rolled her eyes behind Huo Yingjia, stuck out her tongue and made faces. No need to guess, everyone knows that Brother Yingjia is angry. Brother Yingjia, I'm sorry. He Tian decided to apologize first. Huo Yingjia should be allowed to do the hard, tiring and dangerous work of saving people. She just needs to be a quiet, beautiful young woman. You are so good, how could you make a mistake, Huo Yingja muttered, jumping down so quickly without doing any warm-up exercises. Even if he knew how to swim, he would still get cramps. He Tian smiled coquettishly and said, how about letting brother Yingja save people when there are opportunities like this in the future? I would never criticize you for doing good things, but why don't you think more about yourself? Don't think about me and the children? What if you get into the water without doing warm-up exercises? What if you get cramps? What if you get entangled in water plants? What? Huo Yingja asked, severely punishing He Tian for not cherishing herself. He Tian's head lowered lower and lower, and it seemed that something was wrong. I was wrong, and I will never do it again, He Tian said. Actually, I don't know what happened. When I heard the cry for help, I jumped without thinking. I didn't do this before, and the moment I entered the water, I felt more relaxed than on land, and my muscles and bones seemed to relax. Huo Yingja heard this and was dubious. Really? Really, hubby, I won't lie to you. Now that I think about how comfortable I felt when I entered the water just now, I just want to enter the water again. He Tian quickly explained that although it was a bit fantasy, the feeling was real. Huo Yingja was lost in thought. After a while, he saw the two children beside him sleeping soundly. He finally made a decision and said, let's go, while the night is dark, I want to see what's going on. Where are you going? He Tian was surprised, it's getting dark outside. Even if you go out, you have to have dinner first before going out. Well, let's have a good meal first, Huo Yingja nodded. After dinner, Huo Yingja left the child in the care of Grandma Wang. They had to go out for something. When we came to the edge of Suanwu Lake, the cool breeze from the lake blew against our faces, which was very refreshing. He Tian squinted her eyes with a look of enjoyment. Yes, that's what it feels like, He Tian said, I really want to get in the water. Huo Yingja nodded and said, okay, I'll accompany you. Like a mermaid, He Tian jumped into the water and swam back and forth twice. Huo Yingja frowned, and after a while, he discovered that there were two crystal clear tears-shaped things in He Tian's palm. Where have you seen this? But Huo Yingja couldn't remember it for a while. After He Tian swam freely, she came out of the water, took the blanket from Huo Yingja, wrapped it around her body, and then changed into dry clothes. Brother Yingja, what are you thinking about? He Tian relaxed and felt particularly comfortable. What did you think of when you were swimming happily in the water? Huo Yingja asked. He seemed to have vaguely guessed it, but he was not sure yet. He Tian said without thinking, I think of the Snake King. Huo Yingja frowned after hearing this. Of course, I miss my husband too, He Tian stretched out her hand, I also miss my children. It's not that I don't want to break the news, I don't have any manuscripts, and I don't have any big promotions to stimulate me, so. But I still want to thank the readers who subscribe to the original version and reward Kikai, okay. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 654. 652. However, Huo Yingja didn't buy it. Humph, Huo Yingja was angry, knowing that the little snake was not a good thing, so he dug a big hole for him before leaving. If I had known this earlier, I would not have helped that little spirit snake and let the thunder strike him to death. Brother Yingja, the Snake King is my friend. If you think of it occasionally, it's okay. My heart and body are still loyal to you. He Tian quickly promised that saying some loving words to the angry Huo Yingja would make Huo Yingja happy. Extinguish the fire in the shortest possible time. Huo Yingja stopped humming, but turned his head and ignored He Tian. Hurry up and coax this big boy. Really, I'm not lying to you. He Tian ran to Huo Yingja, if you don't believe it, try it. This heart beats for you. Huo Yingjia's ears were slightly red, and he lowered his head and said, I know why you like water so much. Ah, He Tian was surprised. She also wanted to know, why is that? Huo Yingjia looked at He Tian's big bright eyes, a little sad, and said, do you still remember what that annoying little snake did when he left? He Tian was stunned for a moment, thought about it carefully, and said, I don't think I did anything, right? I don't remember. Tell me, does my liking of water have something to do with the Snake King? Yes, Huo Yingjia nodded. Do you remember those 2 tears? 2 tears? He Tian suddenly understood and said, when the Snake King entered the space crack, he once shed 2 tears and fell on the palm of my hand. I remembered it, I remembered it. Then do you still remember what he said? Huo Yingjia asked angrily. This is a big trap. Let me think about it. He Tian tilted her head, her eyes suddenly widened, and she finally knew why Huo Yingjia was angry. The look in the Snake King's eyes before he left was very complicated, and the words he left behind were also very ambiguous. I like water, I hope you can think of me when you see water. I remembered it, but I was also jealous. Remember, Huo Yingjia said sadly, his eyes accusing He Tian. He Tian felt that this could not continue. She and the Snake King had no relationship at all. Maybe the Snake King had some thoughts about her, but she clearly refused. I remember, He Tian nodded and pinched Huo Yingjia's face. Don't look at me with the eyes of accusing your wife of cheating. Come on, let's talk things over and sort out the things between us. Go ahead. Huo Yingjia looked like he was letting He Tian explain. The Snake King may have some thoughts about me, but I refused, right? He Tian asked, looking at Huo Yingjia seriously. Yes, Huo Yingjia nodded and did not deny it. Then there is no love between a man and a woman between me and the Snake King, is there? Yes. Okay, let's continue. He Tian continued to ask, Zhou Yuan was wishful thinking before. This is not love, is it? Yes, of course it's not love. Wang Bing is even more crazy about you and did such a thing, right? Yes, but I don't like her. It's just wishful thinking on her part. He Tian nodded and said, in that case, when will I use these things to push you? Will I be angry with you? That's different, Huo Yingjia retorted, feeling that He Tian had led him into a trap. Why is it different? He Tian asked. They are all in love with you, who already belongs to you, me. It's just different, Huo Yingjia said forcefully. He Tian smiled and said, maybe it's different. The Snake King who likes me can give up his own ideas for my happiness, but the women who like you are each crazier than the last. It's quite different. Huo Yingjia was speechless. It seems that this is not the topic they are talking about. To a certain extent, the Snake King can be considered a gentleman. He Tian said, I don't love him, but he is my friend. I like him and respect him. I hope you respect my friend, just like me. Respect your friends. After He Tian finished speaking, she took the clothes to try on and prepared to go home. This time, treat Huo Yingjia well and don't get jealous all the time. Isn't it sour? He Tian turned her back and ignored Huo Yingjia. Some things need to be explained 100 times instead of getting angry, lest Huo Yingjia think she has no temper. It was true that she loved him to death, and the sky was dark and dark, but that didn't mean that she had no self and allowed Huo Yingjia to take advantage of him. Huo Yingjia saw that He Tian was angry, so he was angry too. But thinking about it carefully, it is indeed like what He Tian said, women like Zhou Yuan, Wang Bing, and even more expressed love to him, but he also refused, but every time he brought harm to Tian. Although danger was saved every time, Huo Yingjia blamed himself. But because He Tian never complains, which makes him feel more comfortable, it doesn't mean that He Tian doesn't care about it. This time, his jealousy stimulated He Tiantian and made He Tiantian speak his mind. Thinking of this, Huo Yingzhe felt that he had done something wrong. Tiantian. Huo Yingzhe whispered, actually, that little snake. Don't talk about other people now, just talk about us, He Tiantian said, as promised. What about trusting each other? Where about trust? Where about trust? He Tiantian suddenly lit Huo Yingzhe's chest and approached step by step. Huo Yingzhe stepped back step by step. In fact, He Tianatian's little strength was not enough to push Huo Yingzhe. It's just that He Tianatian's arrogance became even stronger at this time, making Huo Yingzhe unable to resist. Huo Yingzhe said just in time, but was stopped by He Tiantian. What am I? Mother-in-law, weren't you very arrogant just now? Say it, He Tiantian said, raising his chin and pointing his round nostrils at Huo Yingzhe. Likewise, very arrogant. Facing He Tianatian's behavior, Huo Yingzhe stepped back step by step, but did not get He Tianatian's understanding. So Huo Yingzhe stopped retreating and hugged He Tiantian tightly with both hands. Speak nicely and let me go. What are you doing with your hands and feet? He Tiantian was angry, let me go quickly. Don't let go, Huo Yingzhe said, about to kiss He Tiantian. I firmly want to stick to the old saying about bedside quarrels over the bed and the bed. Although it is very old-fashioned, it is quite useful. In fact, the relationship between the two people was just a small fight and there was no principled conflict, so this method worked. The next morning, I looked at He Tiantian with her long hair disheveled, as delicate and beautiful as a blooming peony, and couldn't bear to part with her. Life after life, it will be her. Huo Yingzhe gently stroked He Tianatian's fair face, which was soft and bouncy. This person and this heart belong to him. Why does he care so much? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 655. 653. He Tiantian slept soundly. Huo Yingzhe handed the child to Grandma Wang, returned to the study, wrote a manuscript and gave it to his father. The time has come for my father to take a step further. Today is a day off, and Huo Jekan is drinking tea and reading. Why are you here? Huo Jekan asked. If nothing happened, his son would rather take care of the children than drink tea with him. Huo Yingzhe smiled, put a few pieces of manuscript paper on the stone table, and said, this is what I wrote for you. You can read it yourself. It may be helpful to your work and career. After saying that, Huo Yingzhe sat down, poured himself a cup of tea, and drank it slowly. Huo Jekan didn't pay attention. He took it over and scanned it casually. He immediately sat up straight and studied it carefully as if he had obtained a treasure book. Huo Jekan was not willing to miss even the punctuation marks. After a while, Huo Jekan took his eyes away from the paper. Yingzhe, did you write this? Huo Jekan asked. During this period, major decisions were discussed repeatedly, but no decision was made. This article is to provide a solid theoretical basis for that important decision. Well, yes, Huo Yingzhe agreed shamelessly. If he wanted to live a peaceful life in the future, he had to get his father to a high position, maybe his uncle too. This matter is too important. I dare not act rashly. I have to tell your grandfather, Huo Jekan said, I will take the train to Yanjing today. What if grandpa and uncle don't dare to send it up? Huo Yingzhe asked. If grandpa were 10 years younger, he might still have ambitions, but now he can't. As for the uncle, he also lacked a sense of vigor. I can see the annoyance in it. Your grandfather and uncle must be able to see it, Huo Jekan said puzzledly. In his heart, his father and eldest brother were more powerful than him. Yes, They have lived in Yanjing for a long time and can see the mystery, but they don't have the courage to send it up. Huo Yingzhi said, "Father, believe me, if my grandfather or uncle is not willing, you must send it up in your own name." "What if?" Huo Jekan hesitated. "Father, wealth can be found in danger," Huo Yingzhi said. "What's more, if it is really dangerous, I won't take it out. My grandfather is old and will ride a crane to the west sooner or later. If the uncle can't take another step, only you can take over, father." Huo Jekan was stunned and remained silent for a long time. As a noble family in Yanjing, if you don't advance, you will retreat. Before, there was a father, and the eldest brother took the lead. It was smooth for him to work as an official outside. However, once his father was gone, the eldest brother also had his own children and grandchildren. He needs to think carefully about the future. He can't rely on his father and elder brother for protection all his life. When he thinks of his son, and then of his lovely grandson and granddaughter, it seems that he really cannot be as enterprising as before. "Okay, I'll go," Huo Jekan said. "Anyway, your grandfather and uncle are still up there. Even if I send him out, nothing will happen." Huo Jekan didn't have time to say goodbye to his wife Zhang Lifang that day, so he got on the train to Yanjing. He Tian and Zhang Lifang were both puzzled. They didn't know what Huo Jekan was going to do. However, He Tian was about to start school and had no time to think about her father-in-law. Huo Yingzhi, on the other hand, often reads newspapers, hoping to see his father publish that article and see what kind of change his father will have. Let's say that Huo Jekan went to Yanjing. Mr. Huo and Huo Jekian were shocked when they saw Huo Jekan coming back at such an unexpected time. They thought something had happened in Nanji. "Jekan, what happened?" Mr. Huo asked hurriedly. Now is the moment for all parties to argue. The Huo family is also within this range. If you are not careful, although it will not be destroyed, it may be that you are on the wrong team. Dislike. Huo Jekan smiled and took out the manuscripts, which he had already copied. As for the ones written by his son, Huo Jekan had already burned them. "Dad, take a look," Huo Jekan said. "I think it is necessary now." Mr. Huo was shocked and doubtful. He took it and heard a shocking sentence: "Practice is the only criterion for testing truth." This title made Mr. Huo stunned. Huo Jekian saw that his father was lost in thought and reminded him in a low voice, "Father, what is written on it that makes you so lost in thought?" Mr. Huo calmed down and did not speak. Instead, he continued to read. The short article only took a few dozen breaths to finish. "Did you write this?" This was the second son's handwriting, but these contents were so shocking that Mr. Huo didn't believe it was written by his second son. To other people, Huo Jekan would hide it and say that he wrote it, but in front of his family, Huo Jekan did not hide it. Even if he insisted, his father and eldest brother would not believe it. "No, it was written by Yingzhi," Huo Jekan said. "With this manuscript, our Huo family will immediately rise from the humble position we were before to the height of a think tank." Hearing the conversation between his father and his second brother, Huo Jekian felt even more nourished. Seeing that his father had finished reading, he quickly took it over to read. Okay, Huo Jekian looked at it and said yes again and again. "Father, how do you think this manuscript should be submitted?" Huo Jekan asked. If his father and eldest brother were willing, then he would give them this opportunity to make contributions. Huo Jekan can just work outside steadily. When he gets old and gets a position of real power, he will retire and be free. However, after hearing Huo Jekan's words, Mr. Huo and Huo Jekian looked at each other and said nothing. Instead, they quickly weighed the pros and cons in their brains. After a while, Mr. Huo slowly said, "Jekan, you have been outside and don't know the situation in Yanjing. Now the debate is intense and no one can convince anyone. Once someone gets involved, they will become everyone's target. Although Mr. Huo didn't say it explicitly, his attitude was very clear. Huo Jekian nodded and said, "There are already a lot of people staring at me now. If I hand it over, I will definitely become the target of attacks by other people or forces." Hearing what his father and eldest brother said, Huo Jekian was not too disappointed. "Just like what my son said, my father and eldest brother have many concerns and are indeed not suitable to publish such an article. Father, brother, I have lived and worked in the local area for a long time and have a lot of local practical experience. This article will be published in my name," Huo Jekian said firmly. He didn't want the truth that his son had worked so hard to be covered with dust. It was a tribute to his son's hard work. A blasphemy. You. Mr. Huo was surprised again. Is this possible? Huo Jekian was also a little anxious and advised, "Second brother, don't be reckless." Huo Jekian smiled and said, "Father, I have considered this carefully." "Oh," Mr. Huo was surprised, "then tell me, I want to hear your thoughtful thoughts." Huo Jekian was also very interested. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 656. 654. After pondering for a moment, Huo Jekian stated his reasons. "I have three considerations. First, the manuscript in my hand has a solid theoretical foundation. Anyone with a little knowledge and experience can see it. No matter what, it cannot be denied. It's just that I used to my work is contrary to this correct theory, so many people keep it secret," Huo Jekian said. "Secondly, I am the second son of the Huo family, and I have been working in the local area. This can be said to be the experience I have compiled from my work, even if someone attacks me. But there are you and Big Brother above, and they can't do anything to me. After all, I don't work in Yanjing, so the impact is not very big." Hearing this, Mr. Huo and Huo Jekian were already bright. Yes, based on the previous 2 points, it would be best to let Huo Jekian come forward to speak out. Even if someone were to deal with Huo Jekian, local officials could not be punished directly. At the same time, the Huo family still had him and his eldest son, so they would be able to keep their second son. On the contrary, if this manuscript is successfully released, it will definitely bring a leap to the Huo family. "What about the third one?" Mr. Huo asked. Huo Jekian said solemnly, "This is what Yingzhe worked hard to summarize. I don't want to waste his efforts like this. At the same time, I also feel that the era of being punished for words has passed. Now is the time for the whole country to discuss major issues. Whether what I said is right or not, everyone let's discuss it together instead of criticizing, or fighting." After hearing this, Mr. Huo nodded and said, "Okay, I understand you. How will you publish this manuscript? Which newspaper will you publish it to? Do you have any success?" Huo Jekian thought for a while and said, "I want to publish it under my real name. At the same time, I don't want you to submit it to the top for publication. Instead, I want to publish it directly to a more authoritative newspaper. In this way, it can be said that it is my own idea. It has nothing to do with the Huo family. If something happens, the Huo family can escape, and I don't have to worry about having a way out." "Well, that's okay," Mr. Huo said, "you can handle this matter yourself. Okay, I have a classmate who happens to work in a newspaper. I will give him the manuscript tomorrow and ask him to help publish it," Huo Jekian said, no longer as uneasy as he was when he saw this manuscript at the beginning. "Good. Yeah," Mr. Huo nodded. Early the next morning, Huo Jekian went out after breakfast and went directly to his classmate's workplace. Huo Jekian's classmate was Songming, and the two had a good relationship in the past. When Songming saw Huo Jekian coming to see him, he took him directly to the office and said, "Old classmate, what brought you here?" "Haha, I'm asking for your help," Huo Jekian said, "help me send this manuscript." Songming smiled and expressed understanding. Some local officials will also write some manuscripts in order to show their political achievements. Okay, it's not like he's never done it before, and it's not impossible, so Songming readily agreed. What kind of manuscript should I read first? Huo Jekan took out the manuscript from his bag and said, "This is it. Be sure to send it out for me." Songming opened it and took a look. He was also surprised. Seeing that the door was closed, he lowered his voice and said, "Are you sure you want to publish such a manuscript? Is this for you? Or on behalf of the Huo family?" As a government-owned national newspaper, Songming, as editor-in-chief, had a high level of political consciousness. "It's me," Huo Jekan said, "please help me send it out." "Are you crazy about your promotion?" Songming asked. "Do you know how much impact it will have on you once this article is published, and it is published under your real name?" Huo Jekan thought for a while and said, "Everyone wants to be promoted, but I'm sure I'm not crazy yet. Being convicted for speaking out is not as serious as before." "It's not that serious, but it doesn't mean it's not serious," Songming said. "Old classmate, you have to think about it. I know, from my father, I know some of that person's actions, which are very reasonable," Huo Jekan said. "My reasons are all extracted from Marx's philosophy. Even if someone criticizes me, I have the basis to fight back." "Haha," Songming smiled, "I can see it. More than 20 years have passed, and you are still the same Huo daring in our class." "Old classmate, please help me to publish this," Huo Jekan said. "It's just an article anyway, and your newspaper publishes a lot every day." Songming smiled bitterly, thinking that the Huo family was at its peak and Huo Jekan was capable. Even if something happened, the Huo family would be able to handle it. "Okay, I will publish it as soon as possible," Songming said. "Do you use your real name or a pen name?" "Real name," Huo Jekan said. "This is some superficial talk from a local official like me." Still talking briefly? Songming really wanted to criticize Huo Jekan, but even a philosophy professor might not be able to write such an article. How insightful. Okay, give it a go. Maybe this article will arouse more heated discussions among people. "Okay, I respect your opinion," Songming said. He wanted to see what kind of big wave this classmate could cause. "Then I'll leave it to you," Huo Jekan said. "I'll take the car back in the evening. There's still a lot of things going on over there in Nanji." "Well, if there is any news, I will send you a telegram," Songming said. "Let's have dinner together at noon." "No, I won't eat this time. Next time I return to Beijing, I will treat you to dinner at home," Huo Jekan declined. Songming was very busy, so he couldn't continue to disturb him. It happened that Songming did have important matters and did not try to retain Huo Jekan. Huo Jekan went home for lunch, bought some food that his wife liked to eat, and was going back to Nanji. Huo Jekan's article caused widespread comments in the editorial department. Everyone was not discussing whether to publish it or not, but discussing how wise the person who could write this article was. In the field of journalism, those present were all experienced and they knew how much impact this article could bring to the newspaper. So this article appeared directly in the national newspaper the next day. Huo Jekan was sleeping soundly on the train berth and did not imagine how big a storm the bomb he dropped would cause in Yanjing. Almost all politicians have the habit of reading newspapers, and this one is indispensable. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 657. 655. "Okay, okay, okay," the chief said okay 3 times in a row, and said to the bodyguard beside him, "Go and find the author of this article for me. I have something to ask him." They learned from the newspaper that the author of this article was Huo Jekan, the second son of the Huo family, and that the man had already returned to Nanji, and might be on the train at this time. The chief couldn't wait for Huo Jekan to come to Yanjing, so he called Mr. Huo directly. Huo Jekian met, praised him, and asked Huo Jekan to come to Yanjing as soon as possible. With more theoretical basis, the chief finally gained the upper hand and formulated policies. Mr. Huo sent a telegram to Huo Yingzhe, asking Huo Jekan to come back as soon as possible after returning to Nanji. As soon as Huo Jekan arrived home, he got the news from Huo Yingzhe that he was going back to Yanjing. If I had known it would be so soon, I wouldn't have come. Huo Jekan smiled bitterly. Then I'll take the train tomorrow. Thank you for your hard work, Huo Yingzhe said with a smile. It was indeed quite frustrating. My hard work is nothing, Huo Jekan said, his eyes flashing with excitement. Son, you are still awesome. One article can stir up such a big disturbance in Yanjing. When you go there, the leader will definitely ask you about some economic measures. Think about what to say, Huo Yingzhe said. He had expected such a situation, but he didn't expect it to be so violent. I have thought about something, please listen. Huo Jekan was inspired by that article and came up with many novel ideas. After hearing this, Huo Yingzhe nodded and sighed inwardly. If his father was indeed destined for an official career, he should continue to support him. Actually, it can be refined and concluded. Huo Yingzhe told his father some of his other foresights. Huo Jekan's eyes lit up after hearing this, as if his mind had been opened. Huo Jekan didn't sleep well at night, and kept sorting out what his son said to him, as well as his own opinions. The next day I got on the train with 2 dark circles under my eyes. If nothing else goes wrong, Huo Jekan will definitely come into the sight of the upper class when he arrives in Yanjing. Huo Jekan has been in the officialdom for more than 20 years and can handle it. Huo Yingzhe is not worried at all. What worries him now is that he Tian has to go swimming in the lake in almost 3 or 2 days. That little spirit snake that should be. I really want to find him and kill him. Now he Tian likes water and feels uncomfortable if she doesn't swim for a day. It's okay now that it's summer, but what will we do when winter comes? Brother Yingzhe, I don't think this is good either, but I want to go swimming at night, he Tian said. Actually, I don't want to go there either, but the lake is very big and refreshing. Huo Yingzhe made an action that he had never done before behind He Tianation's back and rolled his eyes. No problem, I'll take you there, Huo Yingzhe said, it's just that it will get cold in the future. What should we do? We can't go swimming there in the snow, right? He Tian was also very distressed after hearing this, and said, what skills did King Snake leave for me? It just made me like water and want to swim, but I don't want to be a swimmer. He Tian feels that with her current speed, she can swim faster than professional swimmers. Haha, Huo Yingzhe smiled, feeling quite relieved when He Tian complained about the annoying little snake. However, he will not speak ill of the little snake, lest the two of them quarrel again. Hey, it would be nice if our house was on the edge of Suanwu Lake, He Tian said. If you go swimming at night, don't go so far. Then we will build a house near there, Huo Yingzhe said, but he was shy. Thinking of having money everywhere in the future, I didn't want to work at the Nanji Weapons Research Institute. That kind of work can only be said to support the family without worrying about food and drink. If you want to do something else, it won't work. For example, if a wife travels abroad with her children, her father-in-law and mother-in-law must pay for the trip. It sounds a bit pricey. Huo Yingzhe doesn't want this. His macho pride is causing trouble. If you want a big house, our salary is not enough, He Tian worried. It's hard to quit your job, and your family has high hopes for you, so I don't want to work honestly. Previously, Zhang Lifang and Huo Jekan suggested that she become a university teacher. He Tian had very good grades and was excellent in every subject. She had great hopes of staying in school. He Tian was also a little moved. In her previous life, she heard that university teachers were quite leisurely. Just thinking about the empty money bag, I can't always accept support from my grandmother and parents. Instead of doing this, He Tian prefers to open a braised meat shop. Do you want to do business? Huo Yingzhe asked. In the future, the business environment will be relaxed, and it will be good to engage in business. But what project do you want to do? Food is the most important thing for the people, and I am going to make food. He Tian said proudly that her braised meat shop is ready to open. If there was anything in her previous life that gave He Tian a sense of accomplishment, it was the braised meat shop. After all, her hard work had paid off. Braised pork shop, Huo Yingzhe raised his eyebrows, and He Tian often said in front of him that the braised pork she made was delicious. Huo Yingzhe has eaten it several times and it tastes really good. Yes, I can not only braise pig heads, but also braise chicken, braised duck, roast goose, etc. He Tian said proudly, this is what she is good at, and it is a skill that proves her ability. It's not that Huo Yingzhe doesn't like this, he just finds it a bit hard. Seeing that Huo Yingzhe didn't say anything, He Tian thought Huo Yingzhe disagreed and said, don't worry, I can definitely manage it well. I'm not worried that you won't be able to run the business well, I'm worried that it will be too hard to do this. Huo Yingzhe said, I still have 2 children, so I don't have that much energy. When He Tian heard this, she felt relieved and said, Brother Yingzhe, don't worry about this. There are so many people without jobs now. I'm hiring people with high salaries. I'm not afraid of these people leaking secrets. All the ingredients are powdered, and even if I teach them how to make it, they can't make it taste the same as my shop without the ingredients. Haha, awesome. Huo Yingzhe smiled, to make delicious food, I also have a kind of grass in Kijia village, which is very good. If possible, you can plant some in the cave in the back mountain. Really? He Tian was surprised, why didn't you tell me earlier? If I had known earlier, I could have brought some back and tried it. Haha, I picked a handful. It will last for a long time. Huo Yingzhe said, I'll give it to you later. Just put it in the big pot of braised pig heads at our house. Just put it 3 fingers long. Brother Yingzhe, you are so awesome. He Tian said excitedly, I'm not going to swim anymore. I'll go to the supply and marketing cooperative to buy a pig head tomorrow morning and try it when I come back. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 658. 656. As long as He Tian likes it. We agreed that we must find someone to work at that time. You don't want to do it, otherwise I won't agree. Huo Yingzhe said, besides the braised meat shop, do you have any other ideas? He Tian thought for a while and said, yes, I also want to open a pastry shop. I don't think the machines are available in China, but I can ask my parents to import them for me from abroad. These are for civilian use and do not involve confidentiality. They should be able to get them back. Huo Yingzhe thought for a while and said, okay, you don't need to buy too much. I will do research for you when I have time and get some machines suitable for our country. I will also think about those pots and tools for braised meat. Yes. Those who use machines to save labor and make people less tired. He Tian nodded repeatedly and said, yeah, for example, to remove the feathers of chickens and ducks, you can make something. When the chickens and ducks move around in it, the hair will fall off. You only need to manually pluck out the small hairs on it. Huo Yingzhe's eyes lit up, he nodded and said, yeah, okay, I'll note it down. The two talked until late at night. Huo Yingzhe took out his notebook and recorded many good ideas in it. He Tianation's current short-term goal is to make money and build a big house on the edge of Suanwu Lake. Then he will ask Qi Zhenmin to help. Early the next morning, Huo Yingzhe went to get a pig's head, a chicken, and a duck. Huo Yingzhe finished cleaning up, and He Tian also prepared the ingredients. Brother Yingzhe, where are the ingredients from the back mountain of Kijia village that you mentioned, he Tian Tian asked. The taste of her cooking was already in her mind. She wanted to try the ingredients provided by Huo Yingzhe. Maybe there will be a big discovery. Huo Yingzhe entered the room and took out a handful from his bag, saying, "That big pot only takes a few centimeters." Huo Yingzhe was about to throw the dried grass into the cauldron when He Tian Tian stopped him. "Let me take a look." He Tian Tian took it, just like an ordinary mother-in-law's leaf, light green and without any smell. "What is this called?" Qinwaiko Huo Yingzhe said, "Everyone will have the taste they want when they eat something made with this ingredient." He Tian Tian was stunned and said, "It sounds a bit mysterious. Is there such a thing in the world?" "Yes, Huo Yingzhe, it's very mysterious to begin with. I searched half the mountain before I found one. If you want more, you need to plant more. The spiritual energy in the back mountain of Kijia village is thin. It can only be planted in caves in the back mountains." "Then let me try it first," He Tian Tian said. "By the way, we have made so much meat, and we will invite the students over for dinner tomorrow night." "Okay," Huo Yingzhe nodded. This morning, He Tian Tian had no class, but Huo Yingzhe did. He Tian Tian put everything in a large pot, poured in water, put in the powdered seasoning packets and the 5 or 6 centimeter long kinwei grass, put them in, brought to a boil over high heat, and the boy stewed. This would take several hours, and He Tian Tian had to watch nearby to prevent the children from coming over. But the aroma from the kitchen came out from time to time, causing Huo Ruimin to keep pointing at the kitchen and shouting, "Meat, meat, mom, meat." Although Huo Ruwa didn't shout, his nose twitched from time to time and he inhaled the aroma coming from the kitchen. "It's not ready yet," He Tian Tian said, "it will be ready in a while, and we will eat it again." "Eat, eat." Huo Ruimin's mouth drooled with clear saliva. "Mom, eat." Huo Ruwa, who had always been reserved, was no longer reserved. He shouted with his sister, "Eat, mom, eat, meat." Grandma Wang was on the side and laughed loudly. "Hey, these two kids are so funny," Grandma Wang said with a smile. "I don't usually see such good talkers." "Haha, it smells very good," He Tian Tian smiled and said, "Grandma Wang, smell it, does it smell good?" "It smells very good." Grandma Wang gave a thumbs up. "Your craftsmanship is so good. If you open a store, people will probably line up to buy it from morning to night." He Tian Tian smiled and said, "Grandma Wang, please eat more later and give me some suggestions. If it tastes good, I will open a braised meat shop." "Haha, do you really want to open a store?" Grandma Wang asked. "Opening a store is very hard and tiring." "Isn't Grandma Wang opposed to opening a store?" He Tian Tian said. "After all, now I feel that doing business is not possible." "No way," Grandma Wang said with a smile. "I was sold by my parents when I was 7 years old, and I have been serving the old lady since I was a child. At that time, the old lady's family was doing business, and life was prosperous. Fire, it's fine." "Haha, I also think that business is good," He Tian Tian said. "I am only responsible for making the seasonings, and other people will do the rest. The store will also find suitable people to look after it, so that I will not be tired." "Yes, you can spend money to find people to work so that you are not tired and you can make more money," Grandma Wang said, telling He Tian Tian some of her experiences when she was young. The one she heard the most about was doing business with the old lady. "It's okay to taste it all." In the evening, Zhang Lifang came home from get off work and rushed directly into the kitchen. He Tian Tian was breaking off chicken legs, one for each of the two children. It was just right for the adults, but He Tian Tian thought it was a bit salty for the children, so she peeled the 2 chicken legs, washed them in warm water, and then gave them to the 2 children to eat. Zhang Lifang gnawed on the chicken wings and said, "Tian Tian, why do I think the braised pork made today tastes better than before?" "Yes, there is an extra seasoning in the braised soup, so it is more fragrant than before. He Tian smiled and said, is it delicious? It's delicious, the best I've ever tasted. Zhang Lifang said, hey, it's a pity that your father-in-law is not here, otherwise he would have had 2 glasses of wine for such a good dish. Haha, when the father-in-law comes back, I will cook it for him. He Tian smiled and said, Mom, you bring the child in, I will cut the vegetables and bring them in, and we will eat. Today there is not only braised chicken and braised duck, but also braised pork. I cut it into a plate and picked out cold cucumbers, white sugar, tomatoes and rice and brought them to the dining room. Huo Yingji came back from school and happened to have dinner. The braised pork He Tian made this time was praised by everyone. The 2 children wanted to eat chicken drumsticks, but they were stopped. If they eat too much meat at night, they will accumulate food and be difficult to digest. When there were only He Tian and Huo Yingji in the evening, He Tian was even happier and said, Brother Yingji, it tastes so good. I have never eaten such delicious braised pork. If I had cooked braised pork before, if it can score 80 points, today's braised pork can score 120 points. Haha, with ingredients like this, I don't have to worry about bad business. Huo Yingji said, sometimes I think about it, I can do business with you, and I don't want to work in a research institute. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 659. 657. He Tian shook her head and said, my grandparents will not agree, and my parents-in-law will also be disappointed. What about you? Huo Yingji asked, why don't you think about yourself and your children? If I go to work there, you and your children can follow me, but it is a closed environment and very boring. The child's growth is not good either. Yes, He Tian said with a bitter face, if I were alone, I could follow you there, but the child is here and I want the child to live in a normal environment. Although I have never been to your place, I know it's very closed. Even though there are schools and hospitals, it's not an open environment. He Tian was in a dilemma, not knowing what to choose. Haha, now you know how difficult it is, Huo Yingji asked softly, I've been thinking about this problem. Then what do you do? He Tian smiled bitterly, do you have to go to Shangaogu? Not necessarily, Huo Yingji said, it's military and highly confidential. I can transfer it to civilian research. Is that okay? He Tian's eyes lit up, shining with joy. If this is the case, Huo Yingji can work in Nanji and take care of both work and family. He Tian is very selfish. She just wants to live with her loved one and her children. Okay, Huo Yingji said, as long as I move up and down. That's great. He Tian finally let go of the big stone in her heart. College is 3 years now, not 4 years in later generations. I am now a sophomore and will start an internship in the second half of my junior year. But it is estimated that Huo Yingji will start working in his junior year. As for her, let's continue to fool around. He Tian doesn't have any big ambitions, and she has long since stopped thinking about saving the world and all mankind. Okay, let's fight for it together, He Tian said, however, I don't want to be an obstacle to your progress. If you want to go to the Weapons Research Institute, you can go. I don't want to go. I have already made the contribution I should have made in my previous life. In this life, I want to live for myself and my family, Huo Yingji said. Working tirelessly and forgetting food and sleep resulted in a weak body and a lonely life. Yet He Tian hugged Huo Yingji tightly with her backhand, and rubbed her little face against Huo Yingji's side. The couple enjoys rare tranquility, with nothing to do with lust, only the warmth of each other's company. He Tian slept very well without any worries. The next day, He Tian packed some braised pork for Huo Yingji, sent some to Professor Wang and Professor Gu, and invited several familiar classmates to come home for dinner. Although there is a refrigerator at home, if the food is not finished eating, it will affect the taste. Zhang Lifang also took some to the hospital and shared them with her colleagues. Grandma Wang was getting older and didn't eat much, so in the end she got the advantage of He Tiantian and Huo Yingjia, two big eaters. He Tiantian sat on the back of Huo Yingjia's bicycle and could look at the surrounding scenery. He Tiantian really noticed some changes. "Brother Yingjia, have you noticed that there are some hawkers on the street?" He Tiantian asked. "There were almost none last year. In the first half of this year, there were a few, but now there are several on the same street, and they are all blatantly opening shops. There are traditional craft shops such as barber shops and tailor shops, as well as some small business shops. Yes, if possible, we can open a shop after the Chinese New Year," Huo Yingjia said, "but we don't have the right people for the time being, so let's wait." "Okay," He Tian nodded. The shop she wanted to open would require hiring people, which was expensive. Our economy has not been liberalized yet, and it is still a relatively strict planned economy. We don't have much money left in our hands. If we open a shop, the meat will be delicious, but it may not necessarily make money. She is only responsible for seasoning, so be sure to find someone you trust. However, there is no suitable person in Nanji. In the evening, a few more people came with Huo Yingjia and He Tiantian. Wu Yaoliang and Huang Jingli are in love and are expected to get married by the end of the year. I heard that Huo Yingjia made delicious food at home and insisted on coming over. As for Kui Ying, drag Huashan with her. I happened to meet Qin Li and Yuan Ke on the way to school. "Monitor, Kui Ying, what are you doing?" Qin Li asked enthusiastically. After letting go of the matter with her cousin, she had been looking for opportunities to improve her relationship with He Tiantian. Fortunately, He Tiantian was very friendly on weekdays, so Qin Li had the courage to step forward and ask. Huang Jingli was stunned and looked at He Tiantian. Wang Bing and Qin Li are cousins, and Huang Jingli also knows something about Wang Bing's previous entanglement with Huo Yingjia. Huang Jingli was not sure whether He Tiantian was willing to let Qin Li go to her house for dinner. He Tiantian smiled, not rejecting Qin Li, and said, "The squad leader can only eat in the cafeteria on weekdays. I asked them to go to my house for dinner." "Oh, that's great," Qin Li said. "He Tiantian, can Yuan Ke and I go?" He Tiantian was stunned. She didn't invite him, but this person took the initiative to ask. It seemed bad to refuse, so he nodded and said, "Okay, let's go together, there are many people and it will be lively." Yuan Ke, after Wang Bing's misfortune, was frightened and uneasy, but he was glad that he had finally turned around. He Tiantian is good looking, but compared to future and life are more important. If he had persisted in his obsession before, he would probably be the one who went to jail and took the bullet. "Thank you." Then Qin Li smiled and pulled Yuan Ke to follow her. When Qin Li passed the supply and marketing cooperative, she went in and bought 2 packs of sugar and 2 packs of biscuits. Kui Ying, Huashan, bought some dates. Wu Yaoliang and Huang Jingli directly presented homemade salted chicken, which they brought from their hometown, and originally wanted to give it to He Tiantian and Huo Yingjia. As soon as we got home, several people went to entertain the children. He Tiantian and Huo Yingjia are going to make dinner. I cooked a pot of rice and cooked several vegetarian dishes, some cold and some stir-fried. As for the meat dishes, it was the braised pork I made yesterday. Because it was a little cold when it was placed in the refrigerator, it must be placed in a steamer and steamed. While the braised pork is being heated, the aroma wafts outside. Huang Jingli has a cheerful personality and is familiar with He Tiantian. She hurried to the kitchen and asked, "Tiantian, what are you cooking in the pot? Is it so fragrant?" "Haha, it smells good," He Tiantian said proudly. "This is my unique secret recipe. I will let you try it later. I guarantee that you will never forget it." Huang Jingli smiled bitterly, sniffed, inhaling the fragrance in the air, and said, "Hey, just this smell, I can't forget it now." It's so fragrant. Can you tell me how to do it? I want to do it too. He Tian smiled and said, this is a unique secret recipe. Maybe I will want to do business and open a shop in the future, but I can't tell you. Oh, I know, Huang Jingli said. If it was home cooked, it wouldn't matter if she learned it. But since they said it was a secret recipe, she didn't want to continue asking for it. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 660. 658. Huang Jingli is not the type to break the casserole and ask for the truth. Okay, if you want to eat later, I'll come to your house, Huang Jingli said with a smile, and I want to eat more today. No problem, you can eat as much as you want, He Tian smiled and said, there is smoke in here. You should get out quickly. It will be fine in a while. He Tian drove people away. The kitchen was not big, and when Huang Jingli came over, it looked even smaller. Huang Jingli went out, and everyone looked at Huang Jingli expectantly. Monitor, when can we serve dinner? Qin Li asked. It tastes so good, I can't help but drool. Huang Jingli smiled and said, in another 15 minutes, it will be ready to eat. The reason why it tastes so delicious is because He Tian made the braised pork with his own secret recipe. Please pay attention later and be careful not to put your tongue on it, swallow it into your stomach. Remember, squad leader, eat more later, Kui Ying said with a smile. Although the food she ate in the mountains was not bad, it was definitely not as varied as after coming down the mountain. I can satisfy my craving today. Huashan smiled but said nothing. His attention was all on the courtyard and the big turtle lying lazily in the corner. The little spinner turtle also sensed it, but it didn't care. Anyway, this human being couldn't cause him any harm, so it didn't matter and continued to sleep. When the food is ready, everyone comes together to help serve the food and rice. Huo Yingzhe, Yuanqingke, and Huashan were eating on the stone table outside, and gave them some of each item. He Tian took her children and had dinner with others in the dining room. First, if a man wants to drink and a woman doesn't drink, and they eat together, the progress will be different. Secondly, there are children here, chattering, which is impolite. It's good to separate men and women, so they can talk about topics of interest to each other. After having enough wine and food, the group stayed for a while, then said goodbye and left. Huang Jingli, Kui Ying, and the others live on campus and must return to school before the dormitory closes. Qin Li and Yuanqingke are locals. Leave early and it will be safer on the road. Yuanqingke, you must send Qin Li home. He Tian explained that Qin Li did not have any ill will toward her because of Wang Bing, so she was willing to release her goodwill. Although she will not let go of those who offend her, sometimes it is better to untie enemies than to tie them, and it is great to be able to untie them. Huang Jingli covered her mouth and smiled, and said, ha ha, Tian, just worry about it. Even if you don't say it, Yuanqingke will send Qin Li away. Otherwise, Qin Li won't date him. Squad leader, Qin Li was a little embarrassed when Huang Jingli said this to her face. Okay, we keep flirting and think we are blind, Huang Jingli said, let's go, see you tomorrow. The two groups said goodbye and left. After returning, the two began to wash and rest. The reason why He Tian was willing to invite Huang Jingli and the others over for dinner was, firstly, because of their good relationship and familiarity, secondly, because they did not regard themselves as outsiders. After the meal, they did not wait for He Tian to make a move, and started to help. He Tian washed the pots and dishes, and left after cleaning up. This small gesture left a good impression on He Tian and did not treat them as outsiders. Don't have too many friends, just a few close friends. It's been almost half a month since school started, and Huo Jekan finally came back from Yanjing. Radiant and energetic. Huo Jekan distributed the things to his son and his daughter-in-law, and then called Huo Yingzhe into the study. Yingzhe, I gained a lot from my trip to Yanjing this time, Huo Jekan said. The content of the reform has been decided, and it is only a matter of time. As the author of that article and a local official, I was arranged to be an important member of the reform army. While listening, Huo Yingzhe poured tea for his father and asked softly, Dad, are you going to be promoted? Huo Jekan nodded and said, well, yes. It is estimated that the deputy in front will be removed soon and will be in charge of economics. Congratulations, Dad. Huo Yingzhe smiled. Then what are your plans? Huo Jekan was high-spirited. He had said some general things in Yanjing before, and he had also thought about a lot of responses in private. The foundation of reform and opening up is to liberalize the market and gradually change the planned economy arranged by the state. However, this does not happen overnight, and the steps should not be too big. It needs to be done slowly. Secondly, to activate the market, we can encourage more small operators, small craftsmen, establish a relatively free market, and activate the economy first. Huo Jekan said that these actions are the safest for the time being. Huo Yingzhe frowned slightly after hearing this. Some of his father's opinions were too superficial. Isn't it possible to do this? Huo Jekan was a little worried, as he was less energetic than before. Do you generally know the content of the reform? Huo Yingzhe asked. Although he knew something, after all, he was not an economist in his previous life, so he didn't know much about it. If the father wants to make a difference financially, he must comprehensively formulate corresponding countermeasures. If you want to do it, then be a trendsetter in economic reform and be at the forefront. While developing the local economy, you can also increase fiscal revenue and people's living standards. Okay, let me talk to you carefully, Huo Jekan said. This time when he went to Yanjing, the big leader Yan Yan regarded him as a think tank. As long as he can improve the economy, his future will be much better than that of his elder brother. He is only in his 40s now, which is the critical period of his rise. If you do it well, you can go up. If you don't do it well, you will be like this now. Now that you have started gambling, get a good hand and play these cards carefully. Huo Yingzhe wrote it down in his notebook, raised his head and asked, is that all? That's all. Huo Yingzhe nodded. I'm going to get a plan first, and it will be based on what you say for the time being. But even if the plan is written, it's hard for you to spread it to others. Just know it in your mind. Then we'll wait for the above. The official document has been issued. Please delete it and submit it appropriately according to the above content. Be sure to take the first step. Well, then I'll leave it to my son, Huo Jekan said. Oh my, it would be great to have a good son. You can trust it completely and don't have to worry about being cheated. At the same time, his son's talent is astonishing. In the next few days, Huo Yingzhe came back from school. After finishing his housework, he returned to his bedroom and began to write and draw on paper. He Tian thought Huo Yingzhe was doing homework at first, but after reading a few sentences, he realized that it was not those dazzling chemical formulas. Brother Yingzhe, what you wrote seems to be about economics. Do you want to join politics? He Tian asked curiously. Based on her understanding of Brother Yingzhe, she doesn't like the intrigues in officialdom. If Brother Yingzhe wanted to enter politics, he would have joined the officialdom long ago and would not have waited until now. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 661. 659. Huo Yingzhe did not look up and gave a simple explanation. It's not for me, it's for my father. Huo Yingzhe said, I don't want to go into politics, I have to let my father be an official. In this way, we can continue to live a powerful life. After hearing this, He Tian smiled and said, "Brother Yingja is smart. He knows how to use my father-in-law. You can just be a rich and idle person." Haha, anyway, my father likes to be an official. Huo Yingja patted He Tian's smooth forehead. "This is not to use, nor is it called using, this is called full help." "Okay, then you should train and help your father-in-law," He Tian said. "You continue to write, I'm going to sleep first. Let Huo Yingja handle these economic aspects. He Tian knows her ability, so she should focus on her braised meat shop." Huo Yingja wrote for several nights in a row, and finally wrote more than 20 pages, copied them on new manuscript paper, and handed them to his father. After Huo Jekan received it, he just glanced at it a few times at first and was shocked. Then he pondered over it word by word and didn't sleep all night. Zhang Lifang shouted once, but he didn't sleep twice, which made Zhang Lifang angry. The next morning, Zhang Lifang twisted her son's ear and scolded him, "What did you write on those papers for your father? You didn't sleep all night and didn't go to sleep no matter how I shouted. You glared at me when you were anxious. In all these years, I haven't seen such an anxious husband." When her husband didn't listen to her, he came to question his son. "Mom, I have a daughter and a son. You can't twist my ears just like that," Huo Yingja complained. "It was too embarrassing." "Ha ha, ha ha," Huo Ruiman and Huo Ruwa laughed on the side, thinking it was very funny and thought that their grandmother and father were playing a game. Zhang Lifang was stunned, and reluctantly let go of her hand, saying, "Okay, then tell me what you gave your father? By the way, what did your father do when he went to Yanjing for more than half a month? Actually, it's all about work. Dad wants to go further and support us. As a son, how can I let Dad suffer alone? So I helped Dad." Zhang Lifang looked Huo Yingja up and down, and then twisted Huo Yingja's ear again and said, "I don't know you yet. You must have a trick to let your father rush in front." He, Huo Yingja smiled, "Mom, Dad, you can't always stay where you are. Dad has always been sad that he can't go back to Yanjing. If he can do well in the local area, it is not impossible to be transferred directly to the upper level in the future." Zhang Lifang certainly understood her son's words and her husband's heart, but she felt distressed to see her husband so tired. "You, help your father more," Zhang Lifang said. "Your father has had a hard time these years. He has always wanted to climb up, but the Huo family has only so many resources. After the eldest family used them, there are not many left for our second house. The Huo family can only protect Huo Jekan from getting into trouble, but there are not many resources to really help Huo Jekan. First, it is to avoid suspicion, so as not to make the people above jealous. Second, as the second son, he can't get too many resources in the family. The old man and the old lady have spent so much energy on the eldest family, and it is impossible to change, so if Huo Jekan wants to climb up, he must work hard on his own and have extraordinary talents and abilities. In the past, Huo Yingja may have had the mentality of leaning on a big tree to enjoy the shade. After hearing what his mother said, he changed a little. He hoped that his father could achieve his wish. "I've got it, Mom. I'll help Dad," Huo Yingja replied, "and I'll persuade him to have a good rest, eat one bite at a time, and do the work bit by bit." "Yes, you should persuade him," Zhang Lifang said. "I'm irritable now, and I want to beat your dad if I don't agree with him." Huo Yingja smiled bitterly. "Women in menopause are not easy to mess with." He reminded her, "Mom, eat quickly, or you'll be late for work." Zhang Lifang stopped talking and said no more. Huo Yingja asked his father to come out for dinner. Seeing his father's haggard face but excited eyes, he couldn't help but smile bitterly and said, "Dad, these things are not urgent. After all, the documents have not come out yet. If you don't take care of your body like this, I won't help you in the future, lest you get tired before you climb up. It's better to stay in the local area and wait until retirement." He, Huo Jekan smiled and didn't care. Son, you are so talented. Don't do research. Go into politics. You must be better than me and can go further. Okay, there are two people in my uncle's family. If you go into politics, it's a bit too much for me to go into politics. Huo Yingzhi refused. Besides, I don't like these. If I like it, I will do it even if you don't say it. Oh, Huo Jekan sighed, it's a pity, such a good talent. It's not a pity, you are also very good, Huo Yingzhi reminded, hurry up and wash up and come to eat, otherwise you will be late for work. Okay, I'll come over now. Huo Jekan smiled and locked the manuscript paper in the cabinet. Before the official document is issued, don't talk about these things outside, lest others hear them. Huo Yingzhi reminded that many people already have some ideas in their minds about many things, but they are not comprehensive. No one in politics is a fool. Once there is a hint, they will diverge their thinking and make associations. I know. Huo Jekan nodded. After working for so many years, he still knows this taboo. He will not say a word until the reform documents are issued and his formal appointment letter is not issued. Now, if he is not the mayor, then it will be someone else's political achievements. After that, Huo Jekan stopped watching it by himself. At night, he took Huo Yingzhi to discuss every detail. The father and son perfected it together, making Huo Jekan's mind more open and his thinking more comprehensive. This document of yours is very good, Huo Jekan said with emotion. While economic reform is taking place, we cannot ignore other things. Yes, if China wants to reform and open up, it will attract investment. Because there are many preferential policies, many people will come to invest. But at the beginning, there will not be many, so we need to organize it ourselves, Huo Yingzhi said, but you don't have to worry. Mr. Qi, Tia Nation's grandmother, Uncle He, have always wanted to invest in Nanji. As long as there is a suitable project, they will agree to come and invest in setting up a factory. Secondly, Nanji was once Kyoto and the seat of the presidential palace during the Republic of China. It has a profound historical heritage. When developing its economy, it pays attention to the protection of these historical and cultural relics and has become a tourist attraction or city card of Nanji, which is very good. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Qi Xing Cao. Chapter 662. 660. With these, Huo Jekan felt more confident. Although I am a little unconvinced, I must not admit that the young are better than the old. But what's more, I'm glad that it's his son. Yes, Huo Jekan nodded, what you wrote above is very thorough. You even included the investment promotion enterprise type plan in it. It is very comprehensive and helps me a lot. I believe that as long as I work hard, I can definitely achieve a lot good grade. Yes, father, so go ahead and do it boldly, Huo Yingzhi encouraged. If you still can't succeed after making such comprehensive preparations, then it can only be said that your ability is not enough. If there is no ability or political consciousness, even if it is pushed up hard, it will be like an unstable foundation. The higher the house, the faster it will collapse. While Huo Jekan was anxiously waiting for policies and documents, Huo Yingzhi was busy with his studies. While He Tiantian was busy with her studies, taking care of her children, and was distracted by her braised pork business, fortunately, she had Huo Yingzhi on her side to help her carry out the business in an orderly manner. As for the evening, He Tiantian secretly took Huo Yingzhi and went swimming every few days, which was very enjoyable. In the blink of an eye, more than a month has passed. By November, it was already autumn. It was still very warm during the day, but it was very cold at night. Something strange happened again. He Tiantian was shivering from the cold at night. When she went swimming, she found that the water was warmer than on the shore. He Tiantian was a little at a loss. The superpower left by the Snake King was so weird, it was not as good as the space at her ankle. It can also be used as a convenient travel case to carry around. Swimming seems to be of no use other than diving into the water to save people. Hey, it's not even tasteless. At the very least, it was tasteless, so it would be a pity to abandon it. He Tian felt that it would not be a pity to abandon this swimming skill. She could swim before. Although the posture was not very standard and not good looking, it was enough to save her life. These things did not bother He Tian for long, because she had more important things to do. One afternoon in mid-November, Sun Xiao and Qian Chicken came over to visit He Tian and Huo Yingzhe. Uncle Qian, Uncle Sun, please sit inside, He Tian said happily. During the summer vacation, I went to Qijia village. I learned from Secretary Qi that you have returned to Nanji. But I have an elder at home. My little one has to go to school, so I don't go to see you. Please forgive me. Qian smiled and said, not long after we came back, the house at home is old and broken and needs to be repaired. Now that it is finally done, I came here to sit down. Qian is an old man who knows how to make friends with He Tian, and then he can make friends with Huo Yingzhe and Huo Jekan. In this way, if they encounter any difficulties in Nanji, they can still find someone to help them. As the old saying goes, you can't find a temple while holding a pig's head. This sentence vividly illustrates the importance of interpersonal relationships. Is there any difficulty? If so, just say, if I can help, I will definitely help, He Tian said with a smile. Both of them are capable. Qian used to be a gangster and a social worker, but now that he is old, he probably won't follow the same old path again. As for Sun Sihao, his family used to run a foreign business. He was smart and knew how to do business. Even if you can't cooperate, it's better to be on good terms than on bad terms. Over the years, in Qijia village, we not only have enough to eat, but also get some money at the end of the year. Before we came back, village chief Qi gave us another sum of money, just in time to renovate our home. We didn't have a job, so we started working. It's a small business, Sun Sihao said. He had never come here before and didn't want to come empty-handed. Although they have lived comfortably in Qijia village these years, it has not erased their pride. Doing business, He Tian was surprised. What kind of business do you do? If possible, you can cooperate with them. These two people have good character and are very capable. Although it is much more relaxed now than before, there is no formal document, and we are doing it secretly, Sun Sihao said, but he had a hunch that business would not be restricted as before in the future. Haha, you see there are a lot of shops opening on the street, don't be afraid, He Tian encouraged. Even if something happens, the law does not punish everyone, the worst is not to do anything. We thought so too, Sun Sihao said, so we got 2 tricycles to collect eggs, vegetables, cabbage, radishes and the like from the surrounding countryside and sell them in the county town. No tickets are needed, just cash. So business is pretty good. This is indeed a good business. Although it is hard work, the money is enough to support the family, He Tian said. At noon, Uncle Qian and Uncle Sun don't go back. Eat at my house. I also have business that I want to discuss with my 2 uncles. Explain. Qian and Sun Sihao's eyes showed surprise. This time, I really came to the right place. Tian, tell us what kind of business you want to do, Qian asked. He Tian's grandmother is a big shot abroad and has no shortage of funds. She must not be as small as they were before. She must be big. Business. As long as it's done well and there's a fraction of it, it's better than the little business they have now. At the same time, they saw hope from He Tian's attitude. The Huo family is an official family, and both the daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law want to do business, which proves that business is no longer as secretive as it used to be. You will know at noon, He Tian said, but the time is not ripe now, so we have to wait. Okay, we are doing it now. If there is an opportunity to do business together, if you ask us, we will do our best, Jianchikan said with a smile. They are over 50. They will work for a few years and earn some pension money. Haha, definitely, definitely, he Tian smiled. Huo Yingji bought some meat and grain from outside and came in. When he saw guests coming to his house, he came over to greet them. Huo Yingji accompanied Sun Sihao, Jianchikan chatted, and he Tian went to cook. There was braised pork head meat in the refrigerator. He Tian cut a plate of it for lunch and asked them about the feasibility of this business. Sure enough, during lunch, Jianchikan and Sun Sihao praised it greatly. Tian, do you want to do this braised pork business? Sun Sihao guessed a bit after eating. She was indeed a shrewd person. Sun Sihao guessed it right before she said anything. Yes, he Tian said, the reason why we don't open it now is not because we are afraid of fewer customers, but because we are afraid of insufficient supply of raw materials. So we will wait and see if the policy becomes more relaxed and we purchase live pigs and live chickens directly from rural areas. Live duck. What I'm saying is that if it was before liberation, it was easy to operate. As long as you had money, you could buy it. In order to supplement the family income, the people in the countryside would also raise 2 or 3 more pigs, chickens, and ducks. Sun Sihao said, there is really no need to rush, but I always feel that the previous situation will not last. Maybe soon, the policy will be relaxed and these things will no longer be a problem.